सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरे वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam Thematic Series 4. We have been discussing the Narada Vyasa Samvad, and we have discussed chapter 4, where specifically Sud Goswami answers, where did Vyasadeva get the inspiration to compile this Srimad Bhagavatam? And that begins from the fourth chapter. And in the fifth chapter, we are seeing that Vyas is despondent and Narad comes there. And then Narad diagnoses, Vyas offers his obeisances and glorifies. And then he reveals the diagnosis. And this section is a very important section which we are going through. Actually, this reveals how Srimad Bhagavatam manifested in Baumalila. So Narad reveals to Vyasa the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. That is, he instructs on Srimad Bhagavatam. So in that we saw these verses, Bhavata Anudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Amalam it is. Yena Vaso Na Tushyate Manne Tad Darshanam Kilam. And then we saw uh, these famous verses. न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरेरिषो जगत्पवित्रं प्रणगीत कर्हिचित् तद्पायसं तीर्थमुशन्ति मानसा न यत्र हमसा निरमत शिक्षा. That you have too much glorified dharma artha kama and not glorified to that extent pure devotional service. So that is your defect. That's your defect. Where is verse 9? Yeah, yata dharma Adashchard Muni Varna Anukirtita Na Tata Vasudevasya Mahima He Anuvarnita. And he criticizes, he points out the defects in his composition of his literatures like the Mahabharata. And then, on the other hand, the positive thing is expressed here in this famous verse Tadvag Visargo Janakada Viplavo. So we saw this also in the last class. And then we saw after speaking these two verses, then what to speak in the literatures if even Naishkarmyam, Achyuta Bhava Varjitam, even if one has attained Naishkarmya, Na Shobhate Jnanam Alam Niranjanam. It doesn't, it's not so glorious if it's devoid of bhakti. Even if one has destroyed ignorance, then what to speak of? Sakam karma, which is, abhadra, even during practice and when we attain perfection. And what to speak of then? If sakam karma is also there, then nishkam karma, which is not offered to the Lord. So, karma kand without any bhakti element is useless. Nishkam karma yoga without offering to the Lord, that is, means the bhakti element is not there, it's useless. Gyan yoga in which there is no bhakti element is also useless. So, that's the point uh, Narad Muni makes. And then we saw this next verse also. There he now instructs Ato Mahabhagava sorry, Mahabhaga, Bhavan, Amogadrak, your Amogadrak, your Suchishrava, your Satyarato, your Dridhavrata, what you do? Urukramasya Akila Bandha Mukte Samadhi Anusmara Tad Vicheshtitam. Remember the pastimes of the Lord and describe these pastimes. In one sense, in this verse, Nadar Muni is impregnating Vyas. He's transferring his potency from his heart to the heart of Vyasdev, so that he can, some of the Leelas Vyas himself has seen, because Vyas was present when Krishna was present. And some of the Leelas he can see in his heart, and you describe them because you're Amogadrik, you're Suchi Vrata, Satya Rata, Rita Vrata. So do that. So this is, I think, where we ended our discussion in the last class. So this is where we ended. So let's now take text 14. ततो अन्यथा किंचन यद्विचक विवक्षत पृथक्दृशसत्कृतः रूपनाभि न कर्हिचित् क्वापि न दूषितामतिर्लभते वाताहत नौर इवास्पदम्. The intelligence mercy of people desiring to speak on other subjects. Na yad anyata kinchan vivekshata, who develop another vision, pratrishas, become disturbed, dushita by the words describing those other regrets. Tad krita nama rupa nama bhi, and can never attain its proper object. Na karhichit kwapi labate aspadam. It is like a boat attacked by a wind. Vatahata naur iva. So you describing in these other works, the other subjects, not the real subject. The real Vishay is Krishna. You describing these other subjects, it will develop another vision. And because these other objects are not the real Vedam, Vastavam, Vastu, people, their minds cannot be fixed because they are material objects. So they will become disturbed by your words of describing those forms and names. Krita Nama Rupa. And firstly that, but the object itself is also not proper. The real object of worship is only Vishnu and not the Devtas. And the analogy is just like a boat attacked by a wind. So again, he further continues his chastisement. Further detailed chastisement. Firstly, he has spoken in general, via some Tirtham. Now he is giving it a more detail. That verse. Now in more detail, he is speaking this verse. Sri Vyasadeva Prabhupada is the editor of all descriptions of Vedic literatures, and thus he has described transcendental realization in different ways, namely by fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and devotional service. Besides that, in his various Puranas, he has recommended the worship of so many demigods in different forms and names. Krita Nama Rupa. The result is that people are in general are puzzled how to fix their minds in the service of the Lord. They are always disturbed about finding the real path of self-realization. Srila Narad Dev is stressing this particular defect in the Vedic literatures compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. And thus he is trying to emphasize describing everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and no one else. Because the real object is the spiritual substance. Vedam Vastavam is actually Krishna. And all these other objects of meditation, because they are material, they might be superior, but they are material, still the heart cannot find satisfaction. In fact, there is nothing existent except the Lord. The Lord is manifested in his different expansions. He is the root of the complete tree. He is the stomach of the complete body. Taror Mula Nisechana. Pouring water on the root is the right process to water the tree, as much as feeding stomach supplies energy to all the parts of the body. Prabhupada is actually phrasing that verse from the Bhagavatam, fourth canto. Therefore, Srila Vasudev should not have combined any Puranas other than the Bhagavad Purana, because a slight deviation from that may create a havoc for self realization. If a slight deviation creates such havoc, then what to speak of deliberate expansion of the ideas separate from absolute truth personality of the Godhead? If a deviation can create havoc, but what to speak of creating an entire philosophy? The most defective part of worshipping demigods is that it creates a definitive conception of pantheism. Pantheism means many gods, ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the progress of the principles of the Bhagavatam, which alone can give the accurate direction for self-realization in internal relationship with the personality godhead by devotional service and transcendental love. The example of the boat disturbed by the whirling wind is suitable in this respect. The diverted mind of a pantheist can never reach the perfection of self-realization due to the disturbed condition of the selection of object. So because his selection of object is itself wrong, so his mind is always going to be disturbed. So Vishwanath Chandra Thakur. The positive statement having been made, the negative version is now expressed. So now again the negative is expressed. Some people desire to speak about topics other than the pastimes of the Lord. Having desired, they speak, and having spoken, someone hears from them. And this causes a different type of vision. This causes a different type of vision. For persons having a vision of objects other than the Lord's pastimes resulting from the desire to speak about other things, the intelligence disturbed by words nama bhi, describing other objects rupa, produced by the different vision, at no time and at no place can attain its destination. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the ninth chapter, especially when Krishna speaks about his vibhuti, uh, in the ninth chapter, verse I think 16, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Shakshi, Nivasam Suridam Surat. I'll just share that verse with you all so that you can also see. Not 8th, it is ninth. Yes, Gati Bharta Prabhu Shakshi. Nivasa Sharanam Surit. Prabhava Pralayam Sthanam Nidhanam Bijanamam. Gati. Gati means goal. So Prabhupada in the purport mentions Gati can mean the path or Gati can mean the goal also. So Prabhupada says Gati means the destination where you want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna, although people do not know. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. So when we don't know our real Gati is Krishna and we make the Gati as a demigods, then its intelligence is disturbed. So that's the point. So Vishnu Thakur is making here. It is like a boat driven by the wind. Being turned about by the wind and going in various directions struck by the wind, it sinks. Similarly, the intelligence is destroyed because of skillful words, poetry, karma, and jnana. So the paths of karma and jnana are compared to the intelligence being disturbed, just like the boat is being disturbed by the wind. Okay. Further, now he points out further defects in his literatures in verse 15. We have mentioned here, Narad reproached as you have acted highly irresponsible by prescribing reprehensible actions in the name of religion for people who are already naturally predisposed to them. You have mentioned Swabhavakta. They are naturally by their nature, they are engaged to sense gratification, and you have promoted that in your scriptures. So people will think this is the goal of life. They will not be able to understand that there are higher goals of life. So that is the point being pointed out here. Further pinpointing, you know, it's like real heart surgery. Okay, I did not read the verse. I'll read the verse. Jugipsitam dharma krite nushashata स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रम यद वाक्यतो धर्म इतरः स्थितो न मन्यते तस्निवारणं जन. You have created a great disturbance, Mahan Vyatikrama, by teaching a condemned subject, Jugupsiddhitam Anushashitam. To people, Itarajana, attached to material enjoyment, Swabhava Raktasya, in order to make them accept Dharma Krite, thinking that what you have thought is real Dharma, Yad Vakyato Dharma iti Sthita, they do not consider giving up. They do not consider giving up. Na mante tasya nivaranam. See, they think this is real religion. Dharma artha kama. That is the real dharma. Okay, Prabhupada gives a very extensive explanation here and makes it very, very clear. We will go through this. Srila Vyasadev's compilation of the different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performance of fruitive activities, as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literatures, is condemned with by Srila Narad. So further heavy chastisement is being given. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. So, where in the verse this is mentioned, the statement what Prabhupada is saying, where in the verse it is mentioned? Anyone? Where in the verse it is mentioned? Anyone? Who would like to answer? Where in the verse it this is mentioned? Chakrarama Prabhuji.
I would not know.
Oh, it's a very frank answer. Thank you. Anyone else? Ashokatma Prabhuji. Where in the verse this is being pointed out that people are naturally occurrent. Navneet Kalra. Yes.
स्वभावरक्षतया
Yes, yes. Yes, correct. Swabhava Raktasya Maha. Swabhava Raktasya it is. Correct. What is your name, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Navneet Kalra is my name.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. They have no sense of the responsibility of human life. The human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home. To revolve in the cycle of transmigration in the series of lives numbering 84 lakhs is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned souls. The human form of a life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life, and as such, the only occupation of the human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God. So, the occupation is not Varnashram Dharma, but actually it is Savai Pumsan Paro Dharma. That is to perform pure devotional service. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. That is what also Sut Goswami brought out. Dharmasya hi apavaragasya. Such diversion of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc. And his encouragement in sense enjoyment in some form or other is a great barrier for spiritual advancement because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, as sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too much rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authorities of Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. So there is animal sacrifice mentioned. It is not a license, it is a restriction so that they reduce it. But people, because they are Swabhava Raktasya, they don't understand the deeper purpose of the Vedas and they continue, in the name of religion, continue to do sense gratification. So this became rampant and Buddha came and stopped it. This was foreseen by Narada and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating, but gradually the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because the foolish materialist men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites. So, in the Vedic rites, it is mentioned. But if you try to understand the Vedas and you will interpret because of your own, nature, you are not ready to hear from those who understand the meaning of the Vedas. They are foolish. That's what Prabhupada is saying. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or by increasing population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialist men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life. So these material people say, "Arey, you are not fit to, you know, make successful yourself in material life. That's why you become a spiritualist." This is usually the standard argument the materialist give against the spiritualist. So Prabhupada is paraphrasing the one verse which Vishnu Chakra Thakur quotes. So when we go to Vishnu Chakra Thakur's commentary, we will mention. In the histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics of transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in the Mahabharata. The whole idea of the Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. So, which is that instruction of the Gita? Anyone? Which is that instruction? Parashakti Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dhanavad.
Yes.
Is it Sarvadharam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraj? Aham Tvam Sarva Papebe Mokshasmi Bhuvasucha. 18.66.
Yes, correct. It is that 18.66 is that verse Prabhupada is referring to. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. And even if it is Bhagavad Gita, they'll say Karmanyeva Adhikaraste. They'll only accept the one-fourth of the verse. This compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narad, who advises him to directly proclaim the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relationship with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him because his conditioned nature that he doesn't want to give up. The expert physician does not make any compromise in the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not take at all. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the man attached to fruity work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-pleasure. Na buddhi bedam janayit. Prabhupada is quoting that. Vishnu Chakrathakur will quote that. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional line need not always be so advised. That's what Prabhupada says. Vishnu Chakra Thakur adds some more additional insights. Basically, Prabhupada's entire purport is following Vishnu Chakra Thakur, but let's see Vishnu Chakra Thakur and some more additional points are there in this. So Vyas is saying, I wrote the Mahabharata and other works so that the people could hear the glories of the Lord. But I first presented material happiness in these works in order to promote scriptures to materialist persons who do not want bhakti. So this is the intention of Vyas. But that is not my real intention. The proof is Vidura's words. Vyas is saying there is proof. Vidura also has spoken. O sage, your friend Vyasdev, Te Saka Muni Krishna. desiring to describe Viviksho, the qualities of the Lord. Bhagavad Gunanam wrote Mahabharat, Bharatamaha. In that work, Yasmin, he attracted men's attention, Grihita Runamati, to the topics of the Lord, Hare Katayam, through topics about material happiness, Gramya Sukha Anuvadam. So, to attract men's attention to the topic of the Lord, he did it through topics about material happiness, Dharma, Artha, Kama. Now, Narad is answering, that is true. As Vidur said, in order to make people accept worship of the Lord, Dharma Krita, you have thought what is condemned, karma, jugupsitam dharma krita. A great disturbance has come about for materialist people who are attached to enjoy from impressions arising from sense objects. Swabhavaraktasya, because you have thought material dharma, but though your intention was to help them, you have actually injured them. Very heavy, this is right. How? Vyas is saying how? Because material minded men, Prakrita, ascertaining what you have explained to the Vikharat Dharma iti, thinking that it is not a fault to offer meat to the Devtas and Pitras, Prabhupada has elaborated that, do not consider giving up that path and do not consider what is actually to be done. Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So because they are Swabhava Raktasya, they think, this is actually the real Dharma. Vyasa has already given it. Dharma iti, what is the real dharma, which also Vyasa has spoken, Sarva Dharma Parityaja, they will not consider that. They think that this statement is not part of the path you have outlined for enjoyment. Bhatta has said the following in relation to a different topic. Now I'll just read the translation. It should be said that this instruction is for those who cannot follow household life, such as disabled persons. Such persons only must take vows of permanent brahmacharya or sannyas. Thus, this is explained in the beginning. Tatrivam shakyate vaktum ye anya pango adaya nara. Pango adaya means disabled. Grahastatvam na shakyante kartum tesham ayam vidu naishtika brahmacharyam va परिव्राजक ता अथवा तेर अवश्यम गृहीत्या तेनादव एतद उच्यते. It is said. So that is what Prabhupada also paraphrases. Okay. Further, Narad continues. Vichakshano swaryate viditum vibhur anantaparasya nivritta sukham pravartamanasya gunernatmanas tato bhavan darshaya cheshtitam vibhu. The wise person, Vichakshano, giving up material happiness, nivrittita, can realize the happiness of the Lord. Asya vibhu sukham vidittum arhati, who is beyond measure, anantaparasya, and then take to bhakti, setting an example for others. Describing the pastimes of the Lord, tato bhavan darshaya vibhu cheshtitam, for those materialist, anatmanasya, who are pushed by the gunas of matter. Kuner pravartasmanasya. So, Vyas is telling, Narada is telling to Vyas, basically the wise take up to the path of bhakti, give up material happiness, and they will set an example for others. And that is why you describe the pastimes of the Lord. And the materialists who are pushed by the gunas, if you mention material dharma, then they will consider this only as real dharma and they continue. Because swabhava raktasya. But the vichakshana, the wise persons, they understand this material happiness. They give up this material happiness, understanding it is temporary, and they realize the happiness of the Lord, which is ananta parasya, and they will take up to bhakti. So, Prabhupada, this is a very profound statement. Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of the Lord. So, the path of bhakti is actually theology. Theology is the science of understanding God. So the path of bhakti is not an easy path in one sense. It's a difficult subject. And Prabhupada is saying that one who has completely retired from material enjoyment, only he is qualified. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only a very expert who has almost retired from materialistic activities by the culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many thousands and thousands of men, only 1% deserve to enter into transcendental realization. So Prabhupada is quoting Manushanam Sahasreshu, Bhagavad Gita 7.3. And out of those many thousands of such transcendentally realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science specifically dealing with God as a person. Kaschit yatati siddhe yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvata. To understand the Brahman or the impersonal Paramatma feature of the Lord, it is possible, and many are there like that. But to understand the personal feature of the Lord, the Bhagwan, it is very, very difficult. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in the science and is unattached to material enjoyment. This is his qualification. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it, and Sukdev Goswami, the son of Vyas, is the right person to receive it. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. So, especially in Ayurveda, when you have a deep-rooted disease, and the doctor who is very expert knows how to give the dosage gradually. If he gives a heavy dose, the patient cannot handle. He has to give it gradually, step by step, so that he can give up the disease of material enjoyment. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual literary incarnation of the Lord. So the layman can hear the narrations of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord and thus gradually become purified from material diseases. Now, this statement is very, very important. And please mark this statement. Prabhupada is saying here, the expert devotees can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of the particular time and circumstances. So firstly, Prabhupada also had to find out some novel ways in which he had to preach during that time, 1970s. And today we are in 2020-25. So now also we have to find out some novel ways by which we can preach to the present generation, with the present generation. Because times have changed now. And who's the one who can do this? It is the expert devotee. It is the expert devotee. This is first thing. And, time and circumstances. So times have changed now. So we'll have to, present in a way, the dose has to be present in a way which, people can relate and practically assimilate the teachings. Devotional service is a dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out. Is that right? Can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. So devotional is very dynamic, and expert devotees, again the word has been come here, expert devotees. So this specially refers to the expert devotees, refers to spiritual masters. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the society of materialist men. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialist men of this age of coral into the order of peace, life, and transcendental realization. So especially Vichakshana has been used, and Prabhupada has brought out this expert. 3 times it has come. And this refers to especially an Uttamadhikari. That's the point I want to make. Let's see Vishwanath Chakatakur on this. Please condemn other paths and describe the glories of the Lord only. It was said in the previous verse that the people devoid of proper discrimination, itare jana, were certain that you have recommended the material path. Now those people who have discernment, vichakshana, can understand the happiness of the Lord, giving up material pleasure, nivrittaha, since the Lord is beyond time, ananta parasya and measurement, whereas material pleasure is very limited. So the vichakshana can understand. Understanding the happiness of the Lord is unlimited. He will perform bhakti for attaining that happiness. By seeing the preference of the discerning persons for bhakti, the undiscerning person will also take up the process. So, which verse of the Gita you can quote for this? Anyone? For this statement? Which verse of the Gita you can quote? Anyone? Natbar Gaur Prabhuji. Which verse of the Gita you can quote? Can you think of a reference from the Bhagavad Gita for this statement of Prabhupada? By seeing the preference of the discerning person for bhakti, the undiscerning persons will also take up this process. Anyone? Okay, we'll see. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tad evetaro jana. Whatever actions the superior person performs, others will follow. For this reason, Tata describe those pastimes of the Lord. Show the pastimes of the Lord in order to liberate those who are devoid of discrimination. Anatmana, pushed by the gunas of material. O Lord, this address to the Lord implies this is possible because that even such a person giving up all else and performing pure bhakti will attain your bliss. Now, or the verse has another meaning. But if the people do not think of giving up their path, even now, if I follow your instruction and preach bhakti with rejection of all else, they will reject this scripture, they will reject bhakti. No, it is not so. In this world, not all people are undiscerning. Discerning people do exist, vichakshana, and they can understand the happiness of the Lord who is devoid of an end by time, ananta parasya, who is even now existing. Pravartamanasya. Vartaman means he is now existing. Things which are temporary can be measured. He has a body without material gunas. Gune anatmana, a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, which is not possible to measure. That's why one of the names of the Lord is Apramaya. Apramaya is another name of the Lord. Okay, so this verse requires an elaborate discussion, and I feel that to take it up now will be difficult because if we start, we'll not be able to complete within 8:30. This is a long discussion, especially by Vishwanath Thakur. So I think we will stop here. Today, I want to have a short class because I have a meeting. Uh, so we can stop here. If there are any questions I would like to take based on this discussion, we'll go slowly in this discussion because these are very, very important verses. These are the seed verses of how the Bhagavatam manifested. Any questions you have about what we have discussed? Yes, Chakarama Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pranam to all.
Yeah.
In the context with expert devotee, converting into a devotee, any normal person. One classic example we have it a person who had come to correct steal the watch. Prabhu went into become founder member of Hare Krishna TV. Are there any other examples?
No, I did not understand what you said. Please, can you repeat once again what exactly
Uh,
you...
ex- expert devotee
Mm-hmm.
converts any normal person into a devotee according to the past, according to the circumstances, right? The sentence is there.
No, expert devotee, as I mentioned, is an
Expert,
Uttamadhikari, for your kind information. Shastra-yukta Nipuna,
okay.
proud Shraddhayar. He can actually present the scriptures and he has got the potency to preach, basically.
Uh-huh. Now, I was looking to for an example, any example of that which has been done. That means,
You can, any example of an Uttamadhikari. Prabhupada was expert, the spiritual
so he
masters,
had done it with the he
hippies.
had done with say Prabhuji who had come to steal the
Okay, yeah.
Prabhupada's
Okay,
watch.
that example you're giving. Yeah, Prabhupada knew how to, engage him.
Uh-huh.
That's the point. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes. I got your point, what you're trying to say. Yes. Yes, Mataji. Navneet Mataji.
Prabhuji, could you explain Anatmana?
Anatmana means, one who is ignorant. You know, one who is ignorant, who is not self-realized. That is the meaning in this context.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Anatmana, Prabhupada, in the word-to-word translation, he says, Natmana, devoid of knowledge in spiritual value. Devoid of knowledge of spiritual, about Atma, you can say, self-realization. Okay, any other questions? Anyone else has? Any other questions? Any other clarifications? Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll continue our discussion and we'll go slowly, and because these verses are some of the most important verses in the Bhagavatam. Okay, so thank you very, very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.